Welcome to today's Explainer. So we're going to be diving into this really fascinating stick figure animation that breaks down exactly what separates highly successful people from, well, the rest of us. It illustrates a daily struggle I know we've all grappled with at some point. Think about the most successful people on the planet for a second. We're talking top-tier CEOs, elite athletes, best-selling writers. Despite being in completely wildly different fields, they all share this one incredibly consistent foundational habit. Literally, they are the first ones up in the morning. Okay, so let's jump right in and explore exactly how they use those early hours. Is it just some quirky coincidence that all these high achievers are early birds? Or is there a highly calculated tactical reason behind the madness?
What's really brilliant about this source animation is how perfectly it captures the two totally different ways humanity starts its day. Let's be real. We have a scenario most of us know all too well, the absolute chaos of the snooze button. You've got this figure repeatedly hitting snooze, just fighting against 5 different alarms, because come on, one is never enough, and treating the morning like this massive, painful struggle. It's a daily battle just to pull off the covers. But then, in the exact same dark hours, with barely a sliver of light coming through the window, another figure is already up and stretching. This isn't just about waking up, it is a total mindset shift. While a lot of folks view those early hours as pure agony, highly successful individuals treat the morning as their absolute biggest weapon.
So that brings us to a really crucial question. Do we honestly think it's just a random coincidence that the people reaching the absolute peaks of their industries are up way before the sun? Or is treating the morning as a calculated weapon an intentional strategy? To really get that, we have to look way past that standard surface-level advice of, hey, just get up early, and actually understand the biological and psychological mechanics happening behind the scenes. The source material breaks this down so beautifully by looking at how our brain's energy literally functions throughout the day. Let's explore how this ties into the actual hard science of our daily habits.
This brings us to what's known as the willpower clock. Imagine a literal battery inside your head, exactly like the one hovering over the stick figure in our source animation. Science tells us that our willpower and our capacity for deep, intense focus are at their absolute peak first thing in the morning. Notice the timeline here. At 6 a.m., that battery is 100% full. You've got the maximum amount of mental discipline available to you for the entire day. But as the day drags on and you hit noon, decision fatigue really starts setting in. Every little choice you make, every single email you answer, it drains that battery just a tiny bit more. By the time 6 p.m. rolls around, your decision-making energy is practically gone. I mean, just picture our stick figure friend totally collapsed on the couch. This perfectly explains why it's so incredibly hard to drag yourself to the gym or work on that passion project after a long day at the office. Your willpower battery is just empty. So that early morning time isn't just extra time, it is literally the most valuable, high-quality time your brain is going to get all day.
And beyond just that internal willpower, there is a massive external advantage to the early morning, perfectly summed up in 2 words: no distractions. The animation contrasts this chaotic, noisy room filled with flying phone notifications, incoming texts, and urgent calls with a completely quiet, peaceful room where a single figure sits working. Because in those early hours, the rest of the world is still fast asleep. There are 0 pings from your smartphone, no immediate urgent demands from your boss, your family, or your friends. It's an environmental shift that provides absolute undisturbed quiet. It's just you and your work. In a world where our attention is constantly being ripped in 1,000 different directions, finding that silent window is incredibly rare and honestly, incredibly powerful.
Okay, so how exactly is this distraction-free, high willpower window actually being used? The source animation outlines a few key, highly practical actions that successful individuals take when their brains are at their absolute freshest. First up, exercise. Whether that's going heavy at the gym or just getting in some good stretching. It's about getting the body moving when you actually have the discipline to do it. Second is planning the day ahead. This is all about setting your intentions before the rest of the world can jump in and dictate your schedule for you. Third, deep work and writing. This is the perfect time to tackle those really tough cognitive tasks that absolutely require an empty, focused mind. And finally, morning meditation, just to center oneself. They definitely aren't using this prime time to just lie in bed and scroll through social media, right? They're maximizing this peak biological window to do the heavy lifting that drives their success forward long before the rest of us even hit snooze for the first time.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, I woke up early once last week and I'm definitely not a millionaire yet. And actually, that brings us to an essential concept, the compound effect. The animation uses this really great visual of dominoes. Think about it like a giant puzzle. A tiny domino falls over, and it triggers a slightly larger one, which hits an even larger one, until it eventually knocks over this massive domino labeled success. Step 1 is just waking up early for one single day. By itself, one early morning changes absolutely nothing. But step 2 is turning that into a daily habit. When you start stacking these small, seemingly insignificant morning wins day after day, week after week, they trigger step 3. Those results compound over months and years into massive, life-altering changes. It's really not about the crazy intensity of a single day. It's all about the unstoppable momentum of daily consistency.
Which leads us to a pretty massive paradigm shift. The animation shows a figure looking at a clock reading 5 a.m., but the shadow cast on the wall behind them is absolutely enormous, representing their future self. And this sparks a profound realization from the source text. Consider this. In reality, waking up early isn't time management at all. It's a promise you make to yourself. We spend so much time thinking about early rising as just some trendy productivity hack or a clever scheduling tool, but it goes way deeper than that. Getting out of bed when it's dark, cold, and uncomfortable is fundamentally an act of self-discipline. It is literally you keeping a promise to your future self, proving that your long-term goals are way stronger than your short-term desire to just stay comfy. That promise right there, that is the very foundation of discipline.
And that brings us to the final, lingering thought from our source material. As the stick figure stands peacefully by the window, watching the sunrise with a small smile, the whole perspective shifts directly to us. The real question isn't a logistical one. It's not, hey, what time should I set my alarm for tomorrow? That completely misses the point of the willpower battery, the distraction-free focus, and the whole compound effect we just covered. The real question, the truly high-impact question you need to ask yourself tonight when you reach for that alarm is, will I keep my promise tomorrow morning? Will you choose the familiar struggle of the snooze button, or will you choose to forge your biggest weapon? Think about that future self. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, keep learning and go build those early habits.